Here's your wrestling news for February 21st, 2023, and we're starting off today with Raw, and after getting himself disqualified at Elimination Chamber, Brock Lesnar's road to WrestleMania just got a whole lot weirder on last night's show. Unable to escape the Hurt Lock in Montreal, Lesnar got himself intentionally disqualified on Saturday and F5'd a referee after the match for good measure, and MVP had some choice words about Brock on Raw. Hoping to mend his relationship with Lashley, MVP called Brock a coward and appeared alongside Omos, who has been largely absent in the last few months. During the segment, MVP laid out the challenge to Lesnar to face Omos at WrestleMania 39, which has come as a surprising move to fans. If Lesnar vs. Omos is indeed the match planned for WrestleMania, then many fans will be underwhelmed, as the 7'3" Nigerian giant is still considered green in the ring, and many fans expected a fourth Lesnar vs. Lashley match given the finish at Elimination Chamber. It also begs the question as to how and where does Bray Wyatt fit into this situation, as it was just last week that he challenged the winner of the Lashley-Lesnar match in Montreal, and there's been a lot of confusion as to how that would play out. For one thing, Wyatt versus Lesnar or Lashley would be a very brief feud, and secondly, the inconclusive ending to what we saw at Elimination Chamber implied that Wyatt would be facing neither man at WrestleMania. What we do know is that Lesnar will return on next week's Raw to respond to Omos's challenge. WWE fans on Twitter were disappointed with this development, especially after it seemed like Lesnar would face Bobby Lashley or Bray Wyatt at the show of shows instead. Not only did Lesnar lose by DQ last Saturday, but his brutal post-match attack also set up the rematch that now doesn't appear to be happening. This week's events also seemingly confirmed Lashley vs. Wyatt, as Bray said he would target the winner of the match at Elimination Chamber, and the response has almost been entirely negative, with fans surprised with Triple H's supposed lack of direction for the Beast Incarnate. When you recognize how many fans hope to see Lesnar vs. Gunther at WrestleMania, Lesnar has 4 potential opponents for Los Angeles: Gunther, Lashley, Omos, and Wyatt. And who do you want to see step in the ring with the Beast this April? More from Raw, as Sami Zayn kicked off last night's show, and while he was grateful to the support of the fans, said he felt guilty for losing to Roman Reigns. Sami did say that his story isn't over yet, and his final chapter will be written with someone else, which was all a build for Zayn to call out Kevin Owens. Acknowledging that they've both failed to dethrone Roman Reigns individually, Zayn suggested they team up to take on the Bloodline, but Owens insisted he'd rather go it alone. Owens instead said that Sami should speak with his other pal Jey Uso, but on Twitter, fans were excited at seeing Zayn and KO team in the ring again. One fan said that the slow build to WrestleMania, which is still 6 weeks away, is going to be beautiful if fans are patient, while another said that Owens refusing to just forgive and forget what Zayn did to him in the Bloodline makes perfect sense. While Owens is not interested in teaming with Zayn, the two are rumored to be facing the Usos at WrestleMania, so Sami has 6 weeks to win over his real-life best friend. After losing in Montreal and being rejected by his best friend, Zayn was in need of some good news after this segment and took his frustrations out on Baron Corbin. After the Lone Wolf attacked Zayn, telling the Canadian, "Your story is over," Adam Pearce made the match official, and it shouldn't come as a surprise that Zayn put away Corbin in no time, continuing the latter's losing streak. One haluva kick was all it took for Sami to be back on the winning side, and Corbin's losing streak is what led to JBL abandoning him, telling the former US champion that you can't polish a turd. While Corbin is the most recent person to pin Roman Reigns, getting a win over the big dog back at TLC 2019, things are much different for both men these days, and we'll have to see when, if ever, Corbin can turn his losing streak around. Cody Rhodes had another heated confrontation with Paul Heyman this week, and just like before, things got very personal. On the first Raw after Elimination Chamber, Rhodes appeared in the ring, but as he was about to cut a promo, Heyman interrupted him from the Titantron. In a video, Heyman wore a neck brace, selling the effects of the stunner he received from Kevin Owens in Montreal, but that didn't stop the wise man from playing head games. Heyman informed Rhodes that if he dethrones Roman Reigns, he would be on the road for over 300 days a year and would miss out on family time. Heyman added that Roman Reigns is a happily married man, but he isn't, and Rhodes then warned the head of the table not to send his special counsel to him again. Rhodes said that no matter how good Roman Reigns is, he has to finish the story and become undisputed WWE Universal Champion at WrestleMania, and nothing will stand in the way of the American Nightmare. Paul Heyman proved once again why he is considered one of the best talkers in wrestling history, and one line from this week in particular got a ton of attention. In fact, this scathing line is one that Heyman technically didn't say, as during his promo, he vowed he would never say something as vulgar as, "Don't worry, Cody, on a cold winter night, Roman Reigns will keep your wife warm." On Twitter, fans erupted at this line, with one calling Heyman a menace who rattled the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble winner. One fan had a contemporary response, saying that Rhodes is like Will Smith when the Men in Black actor told Chris Rock to keep his wife's name out of his mouth at the Oscars. Paul Heyman has insulted Cody Rhodes' father and wife in their last two meetings on WWE Raw, and it'll be interesting to see what comes next from both men on the road to WrestleMania 39. WrestleMania 38 took place at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, and it was a grand event. WWE fans saw the in-ring return of Stone Cold Steve Austin and the surprising return of Cody Rhodes. WWE fans considered the event to be successful, but one fan left the arena with an unpleasant experience. Marvin Jackson, a fan who attended the event, filed a lawsuit against WWE on January 12th before the District Court of Tarrant County, Texas, alleging that he lost hearing in his left ear when he attended WrestleMania 38 due to the pyrotechnics that took place as part of the show's production. On or about April 3, 2022, plaintiff attended WrestleMania 38, which was hosted by defendant and located at AT&T Stadium, 1 AT&T Way, Arlington, Texas, 76011. Plaintiff was an invitee on the premises, defendant was the occupier of the premises. Plaintiff was seated next to the stage of the venue. When performance began, pyrotechnics went off. The blast from the pyrotechnics was so loud that it caused plaintiff to lose almost all hearing in his left ear. No facts suggest anything plaintiff did or failed to do in any way caused or contributed to the incident or resulting damages. Defendant failed to notify anyone or place any warnings to warn of the existence of the dangers associated with pyrotechnics. As a result of the incident, plaintiff suffered serious injuries. According to the lawsuit, Marvin is suing WWE for negligence, gross negligence, and strict liability, while also claiming WWE knew of the risk involved in using pyrotechnics but disregarded it. In regard to WWE's liability, Jackson claims that his injuries came from the pyrotechnic display. Due to the proximity of the pyrotechnics to the invitees, the indoor nature of the display, and the inherent danger of pyrotechnics, the degree of risk of harm to invitees was particularly high at WrestleMania 38. The likelihood of harm associated with those risks was commensurate with the risk. Though defendant's lack of reasonable care caused plaintiff's injury, plaintiff asserts that no amount of reasonable care could eliminate risk that accompanies use of indoor pyrotechnics. The damage stemming from loud blasts from pyrotechnics was exacerbated by the closed atmosphere of an indoor facility like AT&T Stadium. The harm arose from the loud sound produced by the pyrotechnic blast. While the use of pyrotechnic displays is commonplace on holidays at outdoor events, the use of deafening pyrotechnics in indoor facilities with echoing effects is an irregular practice and should not be considered a matter of common usage. Moreover, the relative value of indoor pyrotechnic displays is marginal compared to the inherent risk it puts on crowded audiences in indoor facilities. The potential for harm by burns or deafening noise cannot be outweighed by the cosmetic effects of indoor pyrotechnics. The lawsuit, which was filed last month in Texas, requested a jury trial and monetary damages of more than $1 million, including damages of any kind, costs, penalties, expenses, prejudgment interest, and attorney's fees. On February 17th, WWE filed a request to have the lawsuit moved to the United States District Court for the Northern District of Texas, Fort Worth Division. A ruling on the matter has not been made. While it's sad that a fan lost his hearing at a WWE event, losing this lawsuit could cause the company to limit the use of pyrotechnics at upcoming events, which could take away some of the effects of the show. Stay tuned to Slat Rock Wrestling for any further updates. Before this week's Raw, it had been reported that Trish Stratus was going to be on the show and was expected to align herself with Becky Lynch and Lita against Damage Control. While Lynch and Lita did feature on the show, hijacking Ding Dong Hello and challenging Io Sky and Dakota Kai to a women's tag title match next week, Trish was nowhere to be seen, and we now know why. According to a Fightful report, WWE had planned for Trish to appear in a segment with Bayley, but that plan changed. They said, Trish Stratus was set to return during the Ding Dong Hello segment with Bayley, but it didn't end up happening. Instead, Lita and Becky Lynch showed up and made a challenge for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Details are few so far, but it was confirmed to us that Trish Stratus was the original plan. In fact, Trish Stratus physically was at the show in Ottawa, but left before the segment happened. When we asked what ended up happening, we were simply told that a creative change, which we'll dig more about. In an update, it was said that Triple H made the call to cancel Trish's return this week, citing last-minute creative issues as the reason. As for Lynch and Lita, their title match was confirmed for next week, and the road to WrestleMania certainly has been a confusing one for the man. We'll have to see what happens as WWE continues this feud, and while Trish could still show up in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, fans in Canada didn't get any stratisfaction last night. This week's Raw saw a rare appearance by Edge, who looked to capture Austin Theory's United States Championship. Unfortunately for the Rated R superstar, that wasn't meant to be, and his loss also saw an impressive streak of Edges be broken. Theory and the Hall of Famer really brought it last night, with the crowd eating out of the palm of their hands, and at one point, the Rated R superstar looked to win the title with a spear. That was until Finn Balor emerged, still mad from his loss to the Grit couple in Montreal, and caused a distraction. When the referee wasn't looking, Balor hit Edge with a kick, which allowed Theory to hit his finisher, which Edge could not kick out of. On Twitter, fans suggested that this week's match all but guarantees Edge vs. Balor at WrestleMania, and many praised this as one of the best main event matches and segments we've seen in some time. This week's defeat marks the first time Edge has been pinned in 528 days, with his most recent pinfall loss before this week coming at the hands of Seth Rollins on the September 10th, 2021 edition of SmackDown. While Edge has lost in the time since then, he wasn't pinned, as he lost an I Quit match to Finn Balor at Extreme Rules 2022 and was eliminated from the Royal Rumble last month. Edge lost to Theory due to interference by Balor, and with a Hell in a Cell match rumored for WrestleMania, expect their feud only to get more violent from here. As a babyface, Finn Balor often used his Demon King persona for high-profile matches and opponents, but fans haven't seen the face paint since Finn's heel turn last year. According to Fightful Select, though, WWE did have discussions about bringing the Demon back for the Royal Rumble, which was originally scheduled to see Balor face Edge one-on-one. Due to Edge's Disney Plus commitments, that match was scrapped, and instead, Edge returned in the men's Rumble match, and the men were on opposing sides of a mixed tag and Elimination Chamber that Beth Phoenix and Edge won. Fightful confirmed reports that the originally planned match at the Rumble was going to be inside Hell in a Cell, and sources who spoke to Fightful added that the Demon just didn't work with the current iteration of the Judgment Day, so they were against it. Others felt like there needed to be more buzz for the persona's 8th time being used on the main roster. If WWE does bring the Demon back for WrestleMania, it'll be the first time we've seen the character since Extreme Rules in 2021, where Finn lost to Roman Reigns. And do you want to see the Demon back as part of Finn's current character? Raw also saw Seth Rollins in action, and while he won against The Miz, it wasn't a pinfall that sealed the deal for the Architect. During the Elimination Chamber match last weekend, Rollins was attacked by Logan Paul, who took Seth out with a lariat and a curb stomp, and the former Universal Champion has been in a foul mood ever since. In their first match in half a decade, Rollins started the match in control, but Miz continued to enrage Seth by mentioning Paul. In the closing moments, Rollins leveled Miz with a curb stomp, but then hit another, and even after the ref called for the bell, hit a third curb stomp at the request of the crowd. This wasn't just a win for Seth Rollins, but a statement to Logan Paul, who may have bitten off more than he can chew with the Architect of the Shield. WrestleMania news now, and John Cena is expected to compete at this year's event in his first Mania since 2020, his first match in front of live fans since 2018, and his first full-length match since 2017. On this week's Raw, Cena's rumored opponent practically confirmed their match, and as you've probably guessed, that person is US Champion Austin Theory. Speaking in a backstage interview with Kathy Kelly, Theory said he didn't care about the fact that Cena is returning in 2 weeks, confirming an earlier report from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. On Twitter, Cena spoke about how he's coming from the streets of Melbourne, where he has been filming a movie, straight to Boston to see his WWE family, and thanked the TD Garden for allowing him to be a part of the road to WrestleMania. That show will take place in Cena's old stomping ground of Boston, Massachusetts, and while it has not been confirmed what John will do on the show, setting up the Theory match seems the likely direction. A match was teased last year but never transpired, and while Cena has been busy filming Ricky Stenicki as of late in Australia, expect to see the 16-time world champion in Boston next month. But who do you think should go over in this match, and do you think Theory is the right person to face Cena at WrestleMania? Let us know in the comments below. And we're ending today with Elimination Chamber, as the show was filmed in Montreal, and an interesting name was Backstage. Fightful reports that JTG was backstage at the show in Montreal, but sources said he was just visiting. JTG hasn't wrestled for WWE in years, but maintains a positive relationship with the company, and no doubt had a blast catching up with old friends and meeting new faces at last Saturday's event.